administrative roles. And another interesting role is the DB account manager. That is the only role that can create change passwords of users. So we need to have a user with this role in order to be able to create user and do all these account management tasks. Then we have the DBSec analyst role. That is a role for running reports in Oracle Database Vault. There are users that are created when we install Database Vault. This the user performing the installation is asked for the usernames and password, so it may be different than what I wrote here, but these are the typical names found in Oracle documentation. So we have the Mac account user that is granted the DB account manager role, that is so used to administer database accounts and profiles in an Oracle database with Database Vault installed. Then we have Mac admin that is used to access control as an access control administrator. Then we have the Mac report for running reports. And finally, the Mac sys user, that is the user with most privileges in Database Vault. Well, let's see how we can bypass these Database Vault's protections. There are, when we install it, it's not a perfect product, Database Vault. There are some security considerations that are already documented in Database Vault documentation. There are some security considerations with built-in packages like UTL file, DBMS file transfer, and the logminer packages. The Database Vault documentations said that we should be aware that these packages are dangerous and that could lead to security issues, but it doesn't actually says what are the problems. Then there are also some considerations with system privileges, like the job management privileges. There are some considerations also for the recycle bin. As we said before, the recycle bin is disabled when we install Database Vault. And some other considerations with Java store procedures and external C calls. And finally, also there are some considerations with trusted accounts that are, for example, the software owner OS account and sysdba users. So basically, the documentation said that these users should be trusted in an Oracle Database Vault installation. Well, the attacks that I'm going to describe are not so related with these security considerations that are already documented, but some of the attacks take advantage of some of these considerations, like the trusted accounts. We will look for OS access to get to execute operating system commands as the software owner, and we will be able to disable the Database Vault protections. Well, these are the attacks that we are going to see today. First, we will focus on attacks that looks for operating system access. You probably know that it is possible to get operating system access from the database. It is kind of known this, but if we take this into consideration from in an installation of database vault, this is much more dangerous, because it means that once we get this kind of access, we probably can compromise database vault. We'll see then that creating and executing a procedure in Maxis schema, we can bypass some protections of database vault and compromise it with just a couple of system privileges. Then we will see that the sys user can bypass database vault. We will see how we can exploit SQL injections in sys schema to bypass database vault. And also we'll see some vulnerabilities that are specific to database vault. Well, now we will focus how we can get operating system access in a database vault installation, and how this can be can lead us to disable database vault. Once we can get this kind of access, that would typically be Oracle as the Oracle software owner, the Oracle user, or the system user in Windows. We will be able to disable database vault or to overwrite the sys password and enable sys-DBA connections if they were blocked. As we saw, the Aura PW tool can be used to do that. There are many ways in which an attacker can get operating system access, being a user connected to the database. It's maybe using an external procedure call. It may be using a buffer overflow vulnerability. We will see demonstrations of this. And also, it could be using Java stored procedures, or external jobs, or creating a directory object that will give us access to the file system. Also, if we don't have the required permissions to use any of these techniques, we could use a SQL injection vulnerability to elevate the privileges and use one of these techniques to get operating system access. Well, first let's see a demonstration of how the protections in database vault works. Here I have an Oracle 11G Release 1 installation. So we will connect as the system user and select from a table in the HR schema, and as we can see, we have access to this employees table because we are a DBA with the select any table privileges. Now I will connect as the Maxis user and create a realm to protect this schema. Here I create the realm, add an authorization to the realm that is the HR user. Here I say that the whole HR schema must be protected, and give some kind of description to the realm which we've just created. Now I will try to select again from this table. And it says that we don't have enough privileges. This is because even if we are a DBA with select any table privileges, we can't access a table that is protected by a realm. Well, this is how the realm protection works. Now let's back to the attacks where we will be able to disable database vault. The first one that we are going to see is the extended procedure call technique. An external procedure is a procedure or function that is stored in a dynamic link library external file. So we first need to create a database library that points to this external file, and then we need to create a store procedure that points to a exported function in that DLL file. The two system privileges that are needed to use these techniques are just create library and create procedure privileges. And it's a two-steps procedure. We need first to create the library associated with an operating system library file that contains a system or exec function. A system function or exec function will take an argument that is the operating system command that we want to execute, and this command will get executed. We have shared libraries that contain this kind of functions both in Windows and in Linux. In Oracle 9.2, these libraries that we can load must be in Oracle Home lib directory or Oracle Home bin directory, but I found that there are libraries of this kind. For example, in Windows we have the Visual C runtime library that contains a system function that can be used to execute operating system commands, and on Linux there is also the libosutils library that contains an exec function that will execute operating system commands. So this is the SQL statements that we can execute. Here, the create library SQL statement will create a database library object that points to this DLL file, and then we create a procedure that will point to an exported function in that library. So we then just need to call this store procedure to execute operating system commands. Typically, this will be executed as the same operating system user that the Oracle service is running. So these privileges are enough to disable database vault. For Linux, we execute this make and relink commands, and for Windows, we rename this DLL file that, as we have seen, this is the standard method to disable database vault. Well, let's see an example. Let's see a demonstration.